Kuroneko Network.
What's good, everybody? This is Kuroneko for the Kuroneko Network, back with the special Water Wednesday episode that I told you about. Here, my special guest, the guy that got me into Girls, and Lucky for the most part, Upgoon. Tell me a little about yourself.
Hi, hello, much, I'm doing upstate, etc. All that fun stuff. Well, I've got a more in-depth story, but I guess I don't know how much we want for the very beginning of it. I'm Upgoon. I used to brand myself as the only foreign Girls² fan on Japanese. I call them Girls² also.
So,
I know it's not right. I know.
but, I mean, how were you supposed to pronounce that in the first place? Because I know they abbreviated it as like GL with the exponent, so you're supposed to pronounce it GL2 when it's both of them?
I don't know, because it's goddess in Japanese, but I just say Girls². It's just easier.
Yeah, because with the GL and the exponent 2, I'm like, am I supposed to pronounce it as gullah? Like, what the... But I guess we'll start from the top then. Is how exactly did you find out about them? Because I know I found out about them through an anime of all things. But how did you first find out about the groups?
Yeah, and I remember when you showed up. Right, it's a whole story. And I feel like everyone who's an idol fan, a fan of anything of this nature, you have kind of a similar story. The truth of it is, I wouldn't have been into any of this if it weren't for another group. And that group is called Sakura Gakuen. And if you've heard of Sakura Gakuen, it's probably because you've also heard of... So you know Baby Metal, right? I know you follow some of their stuff.
Oh yeah, they're actually my favorite group.
Yeah, so basically anyone who's heard of Baby Metal, and Baby Metal was the first thing I saw. And then I found out about Sakura Gakuen, and I realized I liked that so much more because I liked the sort of personality aspect of it. If you're not familiar with Sakura Gakuen, it's an idol group, or it was, and that's sort of where Baby Metal came from. I encourage you to Google it on your own. I don't encourage you to interact with the foreign fan community because they're very toxic. But again, I don't want to go too far into that on here. They know who they are. You can cut this part out if you have to.
Yeah, like it's crazy to me though that I will say this, and I won't dwell on too much how some of the foreign fandoms of different groups. Like I was really big into Hello Project at one point, and they just got really toxic. I don't know why the foreign groups are like that.
Those people are so gross. I know people who are like Hello Project fans. Like there are people that I'm friends with who are HP fans, but they don't interact with the actual Hello Project overall community because just like it's like they follow them quietly on their own terms, right? And you can do that as an idol fan, not get involved with the main community, which is how I've kind of kept it with Sakura Gakuen. But I feel like we're on sort of a tangent.
Right.
Idol fans, if you're watching, you might know what we're talking about. Anyway, so I liked Sakura Gakuen. That started in 2014. So anyway, Sakura Gakuen had a girl. One of the members was called Okada Megumi, if you want to look her up. And she's great, and she's gorgeous, and she was an OHA girl for a couple years, right? So when she had started as an OHA girl, I started watching Ohasuta. And if you've been watching this channel, you're probably familiar with Ohasuta at this point.
So I'm guessing that was like from OHA eventually. That's where Girls popped up on there?
Yeah, sort of. But they had sort of standing ties for a while. Because OHA is on... Shoot, what channel does that come on? It's channel 7, right? Is that the NHK network? I don't remember what channel it actually comes from, but they had been on there for a while. Takara Tomy programs, that is. And Takara Tomy had a deal with OHA. And they have been promoting things on OHA for years and years. So Takara Tomy comes out with a new show and a new line of toys to go along with it. And that show is called Idol Senshi Miracle². So one day when my idol girl Megu from Sakura Gakuen is on Ohasuta. A group called Miracle comes to be the guest and performs on it, and that was the first time I ever saw them. And after that, I messaged my friend from the SG community who was capturing all the OHA episodes at the time. And because he had actually cut out the song that they did, because if he uploaded the version with the song to Reddit, it would get copyright strike. So he had to cut the song out that they did, and then post it back on. So I messaged him saying, do you have the full version of this episode that you originally captured so I can see the song? And I saw the song, and the song was Ten Mare Toroke, and it was amazing, and I loved that group after that. So I got down the rabbit hole of it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I was like, wow, cool, 2 of the members of this group are sisters, like, completely oblivious. I had no idea the setup of it. Yeah, I didn't, because they had a whole page set up for it, like it was an idol group, but they were characters in a TV show, right?
So it was set up with their Miracle² names instead of their actual names?
Yeah. Yeah, they had the whole website that was live at the time. They took it down, I think, in 2019 or 2020. It was the official site, and it had member profiles for them. And the whole time they branded themselves as the names of the actual characters from the show, right? And it was confusing because I was looking it up and I was like, wow, this cool little idol group with, Mai and Kanon, etc. And I didn't realize I didn't realize these were characters for a show. I didn't realize there was a show to go along with it. And then I eventually discovered that, yes, there was a show because there was a link to the Talk Tally website on the toys they were selling. And I was like, there's a TV show about this? And they're like Sailor Moon or something? I had no idea what was going on. And the first thing that came to my mind was, how the hell can I watch this show from America? Because this happened. This whole thing I just described to you with watching the OHA episode and seeing Miracle on Ohasuta and trying to find it. This happened within 2 weeks of when I was planning to actually move to Japan. I had gotten my job that I had gotten there for the company I used to work for, and I was set to move in March of 2018. And I must have discovered this show sometime at the end of January, I think. Actually, I think the OVA episode's from about November. Yeah, and I still have that episode on my hard drive. I can send it to you at some point. Miracle² performance in Ohasuta with Mega from SG. It's great.
So that means you caught them at the very beginning when they were still Miracle² even. I don't know why I thought you
sort of, yes.
jumped in around Magic
It was before the Magic² announcement or anything. I remember, yeah. Because I remember them announcing Magic² and I was like, wait, how is this going to... I was like, Miracle² and like... That was the first I heard of it. It's like, there's a new show coming out, and I was like, wait, this is... Like, I had no idea. Oh, my sweet summer child. I would pat myself on the head, feed myself animal crackers or something. If I could talk to myself in 2018 and just be like, you have no earthly idea, boy.
So...
Yeah.
So then, since you caught them from the beginning, and I obviously jumped in during the Phantom Mirage days, you've seen Yuzu be around forever, and for some reason she's not the leader. How does that work? Normally, I thought it was seniority, who's around the longest becomes the leader, but I guess they just went with, oh, this is the leader, Misaki.
Seniority is more about age than tenure at a specific place. So, it's both criteria are evaluated, kind of, I guess, in the overall Japanese mind, but age takes precedence over actual tenure with a specific organization, if that makes sense. So Misaki is older in calendar years than older than Yuzu, obviously. So Yuzu had joined first, and also, we don't know how long necessarily each of the girls has been with LDH. They could have been being managed separately, and they had already been students at their respective EXPG schools, mind you, for however long.
Right.
So, the sort of dossier LDH was keeping on them is something that goes back further than we have access to.
Right, and I know quite a few of them were also part of Kizzy, and they were like, is that related to EXPG? Yeah. And so I'm like, was that during the Miracle² phase or after that? Like, did did people already
It
know
happened
about?
immediately. It happened after, and it was very short-lived. It was never meant to be a permanent thing. Kizzy was, it was like an EXPG, like, performance unit, basically, that they would form for something like for recitals, I guess. Because EXPG, if you think about it, it's basically it's a performing arts school, which I never went to one myself, but there's a big one here in New Orleans that a lot of people I know have gone to. And it's like when you go to a school like that, kind of, you're expected to do these big recitals, which are sort of part of how you're evaluated, part of your grade. And I think Kizzy was a group kind of like that. Because all the girls who were members of it at the time were students at EXPG, and that includes Suzuka from Miracle, who was an EXPG student. But this was probably part of some sort of project they had her involved in. And, you know, we're not given access to that kind of information because it's like...
Because first learning about them, I thought LDH was like directly linked to EXPG, like they funded them or something, because a lot of their members come from it. So that it is funded like...
Yeah, they own it.
So...
It's owned by LDH is just... It's basically a talent agency, but the biggest group that they own is Exile. It's the biggest sort of proper group they own. And Exile was the first one. EXPG stands for Exile Professional Gym. It was when they opened it was the school run by the people that run Exile, basically, was how they started it. And that was part of the whole brand that they built up. And, like, if you look at the logos of EXPG, it's basically just the LDH logo. It's the same thing,
Okay. I actually never knew that's where they came from, or that's what EXPG stood for. But now I know. But, I guess moving forward from that, since you were there from the beginning, and then Magi Majo Pures, I know with some of the shows, you say you didn't watch all of it. At what point was it just a breaking point where you just stopped watching the shows, or was it just was too busy to watch them? If I'm not mistaken, I think Trade Making Powers is one.
The reason I stopped is... I'm sorry, I keep talking over you. The reason I stopped is because I stopped having a TV in my apartment that got the shows. The reason I watched Magic Players the whole time, and I guess I got sort of sidetracked in the middle of this story. Mm-hmm. But after I moved to Japan, right, I saw Miracle live. I saw them live. Well, their last ever live performance, actually.
Jealous?
At Zepp Namba in Osaka on March 30th. And it was amazing. It's if you have access to the DVD footage of the Miracle Special Live, which I think was on one of the magical DVD singles. I think it was probably I Need Suite, if I had to guess. But I think it had a DVD footage of the Tokyo show of that same tour. So it would be basically the same show, but the Osaka show actually happened after the recording. So if you see the recording, the show I went to was the weekend next, I think it's at Namba, which is the actual live they did.
I actually do have
didn't come out to that.
I actually do have a DVD of one of the shows, and I can't watch it only because it's like region locked to like Japanese DVDs, and I'm like DVD players. I'm like, I don't have one, so I don't know what's on it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, you need a Zone 2. If you own a PlayStation, PlayStations since the PS3 have been region unlocked and can play Zone 2 DVDs even if you bought it in America. Handy word of advice: if you have a PS3.
I had one. Oh man, I probably shouldn't have got rid of that. Well, now I know. Because I want to know what...
Well, if you can pick up an old PS4, that might do it for you. People might be selling them off if they're getting their hands on PS5s at this point. I don't know. I haven't tried to buy a console since I bought the Switch in Japan.
I also have one for...
You're getting off track.
Yeah, I also have one for Lucky Lucky that was with one of the Lucky Lucky CDs I won during one of the giveaways even. So I haven't seen that one. So I'm guessing naturally from the flow of the story, what happened is just following them naturally, lovely, and then lucky, because I know I was there. I was there on one of the streams when we saw like
you were on my.
yeah, when Lucky Lucky first was a thing. Like, I know they were talking about another group, and people weren't expecting it to be Lovely Lovely disband, but keep two members, and then they combine and become Lucky Lucky. I don't think anybody was expecting that.
We were sort of speculating on, yeah, it's like, because we were speculating on, because we had heard about Kiribeki Powers coming out, right? And we had seen Baki and Hiro already in promos for the show. What we didn't know about was Lucky Lucky, of how that was going to exist. I feel like we're jumping the gun a little bit. This is like 3 years ahead of where, but yeah, I did get that on, that was on the Upgoon stream, twitch.tv/Upgoon. I'm going to plug myself here real quick. But yes, we were all there for that, and that was probably one of the sickest moments I've captured on one of my...
Yeah, it was crazy for me because that was like my first concert, like anything with them. Like I watched, like I was like behind schedule watching Love for Trina. It was like the last 10 episodes I actually watched like as they were airing. But before that, I was like way behind. So it was like my first real exposure. I was getting members' names mixed up, and it's like, oh, this group is disbanding. I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot too, especially with Miracle²'s ending just as I started following. And then Magical² when Magic Pures came on, even though I knew by that point how the concept of it worked, they still did the thing where they referred to all the members by the names of their characters. So for that whole year, I was a Mitsuki Yoshi. I didn't call her Misaki. Nobody called her that. It was the whole thing. She was Mitsuki. And the first time I went to see them live, which was November of 2018, it was in Izumi Sano in South Osaka Prefecture. That was the first time I ever met any of them. It was the first time I met any idol of any kind. Took a little video with them. It was amazing. I could barely fucking breathe, dude.
So since that was the case, was there like the confusion with Ren being Momoka and also Miyu being a Momoka? Like, was there a confusion there? Like, wait, I thought this was Momoka, but this is Momoka.
Yuki played Momoka, but Momoka played Ren.
Yuki, right? Why'd I say
This is
Miyu?
the phenomenon you're referring to. Yeah, that was a minute. It did take me a minute.
I just called her Miyu. I'm thinking Love for Trina. I'm jumping ahead again. I keep getting her name mixed up for some reason. Like I keep getting her and the one who played Akari mixed up. I've been thinking Akari is Rina. Wait, her name is Rina, isn't it? Wait, which one's name is Rina?
There's two Rinas. There's two Rinas. Well, there's Rina who's still in Lucky Lucky, and then there's this...
Like, that's part of why I do the running joke where I say her name with an L, so people just know when I say Lena, I mean her, and when I say Rina, I mean the other one. It's just...
No, I get...
It's a weird way to differentiate the two, and I think people just know who I mean when I say it that way. And that whole thing happened because of a translation error, because I would post things, and I have family that don't really speak the language, so that if I post something on like Instagram, they'll hit the Google Translate button, and Google always translates her name as Lena.
That is a little weird. So, with this specific kanji she uses,
it gets her last name right, but it just keeps making her name be Lena. That's why I tell like, don't use the translate. Google.
Yamaguchi, yeah, that's a very...
Yeah. But I guess
I was telling my friend.
We were somewhere in the middle of a macro rant about Magic². Oh yeah, and they were the first idol group you saw.
Right, yeah, they were the first ones I met, and this basically takes us right after the Miracle Special Live, or the first significant thing after the Miracle Special Live. Because this whole year, I remember telling my Sakura Gakuen friends I was trying to get them into Pures and Magical², but it was me out there alone among everything. There were no translators for anything in this community. Nothing had been translated. Nothing was in English. There was nothing for foreign fans. So it was easy enough for me, I guess, because I was decently proficient in Japanese at that point. But I had translated stuff for SG by then. But it was subpar work, honestly. When I look back on it now, at the stuff I used to translate for Sakura Gakuen in 2016 and 17, I'm like, oh, this is all wrong. Why did I do this? But, yeah, Magical² the whole year. And then after 1 year in Japan, I moved to the big city. I moved to Yokohama, right? Mm-hmm. And this was the first time I really got to engage with the idol culture overall. Even in that whole year, even having been an SG fan and a Magical² fan, I'd seen Magical once, and I had to take a whole weekend trip to do it, right? And then I had never seen Sakura Gakuen before, even though they were my original idol group that got me involved in the whole shebang in 2014 to begin with.
Was there just not an opportunity for that, or were you just sidetracked by the...
Yeah, SG never performed outside of Tokyo, is the thing. And I was making an AT salary, which is, you know, they exploit people who do those kind of jobs. If you want to know about that mess, DM me. DM Upgoon on Twitch or something. But I can tell you more about it and who to avoid and what to avoid if you're planning on moving there and getting a job at some point. But anyway, so I was there for 1 year and I lived way out in the sticks and I couldn't afford to travel to Tokyo, which is the only place Sakura Gakuen performed. I was lucky as hell that I couldn't believe that Miracle² was going to perform in Osaka. Because Sakura Gakuen, when I'd been following for 4 years, had never performed once outside of the Kanto area. And then I discover Miracle in November, the year before I'm supposed to move there. In March, I moved there. And literally a couple days after I moved there for my training, I didn't have any plans to go to the show. It was like 2 days after I moved there, and I was in my company training in Kyushu in Fukuoka, where I see them announce on Twitter, there's still tickets available for the special live, and I'm like, can I buy one of these? I was like in disbelief.
So it was like a sign from Arceus at that point, like a light beaming down, like, Upgoon, go.
It was a sign. Yeah. And it drove me to the nearest Lawson, where on the little Pia terminal, they actually still had tickets left. And I've never seen this happen. The Sakura Gakuen tickets would always sell out as soon as the first advance lottery happened. Because they had a bigger following at the time. Right? And then I go to the Pia at Lawson, and there's still tickets for the Miracle Special Live in Osaka. A week later, a week after I would move into my apartment in Kagawa on Shikoku Island, I call it the Dread Isle because there's nothing there and there's nothing to do there.
Wow.
And I was like, I can theoretically go to this. And then I actually did not theoretically go to it. And it was insane. And I actually met a guy who's an old friend of mine from the Sakura Gakuen community, a guy we used to call Onji, who anyone who ever followed Sakura Gakuen who is a foreign fan can tell you this guy was the pillar of that community, basically. He was a Japanese guy, but his English was pretty good. Very, very respectable, honestly, by, standards of the average person you'll meet in Japan. And he did a lot of work with the foreign community, and he agreed to come meet me outside that show because he's from Kobe, not Osaka, but in a good under an hour train ride you can get there. So he came to meet me, even though he had heard of Miracle before because he was a huge Megu Oshi, huge Okada Megumi Oshi. So he had seen that Ohasuta episode that I talked about earlier, that Megu was the Oha girl on, and where I saw Miracle for the first time. So he had seen that, obviously, so he knew who they were. And he was like, this is like a group of like preschoolers, and he was right.
See, I had always assumed that the song that they performed, I would have guessed that the song they performed all the time was "Catch Me," since you hear that on almost every episode, and they didn't do "Catch Me" on Oha.
Yeah, they did "Catch Me" before in a previous performance, not the one that Miracle appeared, I think, at least 3 times on Ohasuta, and the one I caught was the third one.
Oh, okay.
I think they appeared once for each single they released. So they would have done Catch Me, they went again and did Jump, and then they went a third time and did Head Mare Todoke, and that was the one I saw. But anyway, Onji came and met me. I've gone even further back in time in the story at this point. This feels like It's like watching the cutscenes out of order if you played Tears like that. So anyway, this is happening all across time. I met Unji. I saw that. I went and saw Magical later that same year. Then I moved to Yokohama. I moved to Tokyo. I go see Sakura Gakuen for the first time. Actually, a couple days after I moved to Yokohama, I saw them in Tokyo in Shibuya. And I met up with a lot of people who I had known from the internet for several years. But I never met them in person. We all came to Shibuya for the same event. It was the Sakura Gakuen graduation concert. It would be like an annual thing. The convergence of the foreign fans would always happen in March for this reason. And that was actually the last time it would happen. Because the next year was COVID year. So it never happened again. And Sakura Gakuen disbanded during COVID times. But I'm not here to talk about that. Yeah. Anyway.
I do have one question about Miracle² before we move on from this, though. And you're probably going to hate me for this question. But at what point did you find out about the Miracle² that should not be mentioned? the other Miracle² with the, I think it was the Italian version of it. Like, what? Why does that exist?
I don't. It came out like a year later, and I never agreed to acknowledge it. I think some of the foreign fans liked it. I never entertained it. It was one of the things maybe I should have allowed it on the Discord, but I didn't like people talking about it, and I never encouraged it. I let them talk about it if they talked about it in off topic. I used to post it in the Miracle² chat, and I would say, it's not Miracle². You can talk about it in off topic, you can't talk about it here.
Yeah, like, I will say,
I refuse to recognize it. A lot of the Japanese fans were really taken with one of the girls, whose name was Emily, or Emilia or something, because she was Italian. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
I just sono Italiano, myself. I'm Italian, or Sicilian, I guess. Going further down the line, and some Italians don't consider Sicilians Italian, but I don't want to get into that right now.
I will say this about it: Miracle². I won't spoil it because I'm going to do a review on Miracle², but that final episode that will make you want to cry. And I seen their version of the final episode, and I'm like, this is goofy and stupid. I'm gonna stick with the original.
I didn't see any point to watching the Italian version, but the end of Miracle² was that, and the first arc of Magical² was devastating to me. Those are the only two shows I've watched.
Like, I think that the crazy thing is because I know the director from Ichi the Killer, so I know he can do some dark stuff. But it's still weird when something dark pops up.
Samurai movie, Mike.
Yeah, he's known for some dark stuff. So I'm like, how did he even end up doing cutesy idol girl shows?
I thought that was cool, and he gave a reason for that. Also, because the show, they announced the show, and they were like Mike Takahashi to direct, and people were just like, "What, the guy from these violent samurai films is going to direct this show?"
Yeah.
I feel like that might have, it threw off their publicity, I think, in the beginning, too. But then, the way he answered it in an interview was basically, he said something along the lines of, I want to be the kind of director who could direct any kind of content you put in front of him. It was like a challenge to him, almost. And I didn't take offense to it because he ended up doing a very good job with it. He took it seriously because of that, I think. He was honest about it. He was upfront about it. He was sincere about it. He was like, I want to prove that I can direct any kind of show or movie you want to give me. I can do it, was basically his attitude, and I loved it.
Yeah, and it shows he was passionate about it because, again, Miracle² has very high production values, very movie-like story, I feel. I think it's the strongest story of all the ones that I've seen so far, and I've seen them all except for Magical at this point. I feel like it, yeah, I can tell.
I think Magical is better. Magical is better. That was the best one.
Oh. Now, I will say the weak point of it story-wise was probably Love Patrina. I love the characters, but I can't even remember the story. It was so goofy. It was mostly just I'm watching it because I like these people playing in it. So yeah, that was probably the
Yeah, it was mostly just them making silly. Yeah, it was a lot of them making silly sounds, and I've seen portions of that, and I saw the movie in theaters, which was very. I actually have this water cup on my desk in front of me that I got at the Love Pat movie. In movie, if you like got a popcorn, then give you your drink.
Now I will say the Love Pat movie was the best movie. I thought they were gonna make Cure Make Your Powers movie for some reason. It was the best movie because it brought back everybody. We got to see Sarah kick somebody. We actually saw the Phantomi throw attacks. They weren't doing talk no jutsu. I'm like, hey, they're attacking people. They didn't even do that in their own show.
I feel like I liked them both equally. The Phantomi one tracked a bit better to me too, plot wise. And I liked the part where they had the Chonnages in the Phantom. I did see them both in theaters. It was very.
I wish I could have had like a theater going experience for either one of those, because I remember thoroughly enjoying both of them. But I just imagine if I was like had a theater experience and had people that were also fans around me for that would have been even better. I guess because we could talk about the shows forever. Just move on to the individual members of Girls². Like, just it's your favorite thing of like each individual member, and like even better before your favorite thing. What was your first not first reaction, the first. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but your first impressions of each individual member of Girls². Because I know Yuzu was there from the beginning, so
good.
Yeah. So yeah, your first impressions of each individual member of Girls². I guess just the Girls² members, because if we mention everybody from all the shows again, we'll be here all day. But just your first impressions of like each individual Girls² member.
Okay. So I have some notes. Misaki, obviously, I'm going to start with Misaki because I could talk about her all day. She's basically just my favorite person on the entire planet. She's, in my opinion, like easily like the smartest member of the group. I can just never tell what she's thinking. I can never tell how she's going to think it. And the way she writes is so careful and so thoughtful. It's like you can kind of tell she's a genius just from reading the way she writes. It's amazing. And I don't know. It's that weird, inexplicable Oshi connection for me with Misaki, because she's basically my primary Oshi. She and Hiro are very much toe to toe at this point for just overall Oshi of everything.
So
it's hard for me to.
Seems to me she has that same. I know the Oshi effect very well because I experienced the same thing myself. I end up meeting and actually talk on a fairly regular basis with one of my Oshis now. So that's crazy.
It's great.
So yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
That happened to me at one point too, but I don't want to get into that story. That can be a separate video at some point. Anyway, that's Misaki. I will never stop talking about Misaki. Let's keep going on the list. Kurea is easily my number 2. Kurea was notorious for me among my friends. Kurea was always notorious for us because specifically with me, every time I met Kurea, it's like I would lose all the ability to speak Japanese. It's like a documented phenomenon. It's like all the words it's like there was a period of a good 2 years when I would see her like every couple months at a secret party or something, and every time I would say something in Japanese to every one of the other girls, but I never could do so to Kurea, and I don't know why. It's like she has this aura of like, it's like I would just get within 10 feet of her and like minus 40 IQ. Like you just go straight down.
How fitting. How fitting is it that, I still don't know her character's names, I haven't got that far on Magical Pures, but how fitting is it that she was a witch? Because she has a spell on you. She turns into a lobster for a minute there, even.
They all were in that. But it's like, yeah, she was very much critical. And she disabled me in many ways. I love the way she smiles. She has such a calming presence, which seems counter to what I just said.
It's like you go both bonkers and calm at the same time.
But yeah, it's like, I didn't forget Japanese because I was panicking. I forgot Japanese because I became so calm in her presence that I basically became a capybara lying on the banks of the Amazon River. Like, no thoughts, just squeeze, you know? Like, just...
So yeah, so I'm guessing that wasn't the first time. I thought that was like the first time with a reaction like that. The one that I witnessed, where the whole lobster mun thing comes from. But I guess that's every time you meet her.
It was every time I met her for a while. I eventually did manage to say something in Japanese to her, but I don't remember when it was. If you check the archive of my reports in our Discord, it might be there. And I'm sure I have the checkie from it too. So I got my whole here. But the first time I actually met her, I didn't even have time to register it because it was at the Magical live event when we took the video. I have that video somewhere. I might be able to, if I can send you that video, you can put it in here. You have my permission. Then Kira's next. Kira, dude. Every single one of the girls in their diaries mentioned this at some point, I feel like. But Kira is just the most insanely friendly person you've ever met. Like, I don't understand, like, how you can just, like, talk to someone and just they make you feel so good about yourself, like, instantly. Especially someone like, you think Kira would be stuck up, almost. Like, if you look at Kira and, like, you see just how, like, incredibly gorgeous she is, you'd be like, oh, she's probably going to be stuck up. She deserves it a little.
She does have the stereotypical stuck-up princess look to her, but she's not.
Yeah. But then you go and you talk to her face to face, and she's literally the nicest person I've ever talked to, dude. It's insane. It's like it just feels like if you were like trapped inside like a walk-in freezer for 3 days, and then you walked out into the sun. Like, someone let you out, and then you walk out into the 90-degree weather, into the sun, and you're just like, this is amazing. Or, like, when you get in, like, a hot tub on a really cool night or something. You know, it's like you were cold, and now you're just so warm. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, walking up to
she's definitely
Kira
the type of person, if there was a hostage situation, you would want to hand her the megaphone and be like, calm him down.
She would do so good at that. And it's funny because, like, they did, it was a few years ago, but they did, like, a school subjects test, and Kira totally bombed the English section. But out of all the girls, when I met all of them in person, Kira was the only one who, without fail, would try and say something to me in English. She would always see me and go, oh, hello! very, very katakana-y. But she always tried so hard. She was so...
I would have guessed Youka would be the one that tries. She speaks so much English compared to the rest of them now.
Youka is the one who is the best and sounds the best. But she's not the one who tries them. Youka would only speak English to me after I spoke English to her. Like, she wouldn't start in English, usually. And, she was the next person on the list. I described her as brilliant, elegant, and unexpectedly silly. She's actually really a goofball, like, in her private time. But at the events, she's very princess-like. Every time I met her, very, very prim. And it might be because she was trying to do her best in English and try not to get it wrong. Because with Youka, I guess just because I knew she was better at it, I would tend to start. The one significant thing I remember with Youka, a couple significant things I remember with Youka was the one time she accidentally told me happy birthday, and this is a story I've told 1,000 times. It was the first Girls² release event I ever went to, and it was on April 8th, I believe, and it was for Daijobu, after they had just announced Daijobu. Like, like 2 weeks after, maybe, and it was in Chiba. And so it was only 6 days after Youka and Toa's birthday, and it was my first time in the high touch line for them. So I had already told Toa happy birthday in Japanese, and I got to Youka, who was the last person in the line, still had the long hair at the time, it was amazing. And I told her, Youka, happy birthday, and I think I caught her off guard, because probably no one had spoken English to her in this line at this point. Like, she probably had not interacted with a foreign fan at this point, except me a year before that, or 6 months before that, in 2018, in November, in Izumi-sana, when I went to see Magical². I was probably the only one she had seen at that point. And so this was her second time seeing me. But then I tell her, Youka, happy birthday, in English. She's like, oh, happy birthday. Oh, thank you. She corrected herself pretty quickly. But
I mean, that's a common thing even in English, though. Like, if you go through a drive-thru and they're like, enjoy your meal, and you're like, you too.
You say, you too.
Yeah, what meal? So that's a very common thing.
Exactly that. It's not a problem of her not knowing English. It's a problem of just everyone does.
It was just that I'm caught off guard, and I'm going to repeat, oh, crap, it's not your birthday.
But it was still very funny to me. And I always tell everyone now, Youka told me happy. She was about 3 months early, but she did say it. Anyway, Youka's great. Next one, Toa's hilarious, dude. How do you, I've never been able to, account for the behavior of Toa. She just thinks in, a totally different plane of existence from everyone else. It's like she's got this brain that's, in the, the shadow or something. You know? She's just, she sees beyond the veil. She stared too long into the abyss, and now it's gazing back into her.
It's
Toa noticed some Eldritch.
It's crazy because Toa was my Oshi for this group, still is, and it's just the reason being the way she thinks and everything. But I feel like lately Momoka's trying to compete for being the weirdest thinker now. I'm like, where did this come from all of a sudden? It's like they're in competition. I've got more notes on her, and I do already.
Anyway, Toa is just so. I like the girls where I can't predict what they're thinking. That's what I said earlier for Misaki, who's basically my Oshi Prime. It's I could never tell what she's going to think. And that's one of the reasons I like a lot of my Oshis, and that definitely is the case for Toa. And Toa comes across as kind of. I'm trying to think of how to say this in a way that's not disparaging. Kind of aloof, I guess. She's not always super paying attention to what's going on around her, but that's not, I wouldn't count that as a note against her. It's I would consider that what the Japanese call a charm point. Something that is typically seen as a negative, but for certain people, it makes you think of them in a better way.
Yeah, kind of have some idols where they have a clumsiness charm point. Normally, oh God, you're clumsy. No,
yeah,
but they make it work for them.
Yes, it's exactly like that. Yeah, but it's a big thing with idols. I think in particular, they'll find something that's another one. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ino Sakura. She was an Oha girl for a long time. She had the guy eyebrows. That was her charm. You've talked about her on your channel before, haven't you?
I refuse to talk to her. We'll talk about her as much on the channel because she keeps posting these Peach Jun photos, and I'm not trying to get into trouble for talking about
recently.
Those. Yeah. I'm not trying to talk about those. People don't like when I talk about Gravy, even though I got to start.
About 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. Her whole big thing was the eyebrows for her charm point, because they're not classically attractive, but she kept them in such a way that they were distinctive, and so that's how I think of Toa, is she's, as her charm point, she's a little bit spacey, but I I very much like that about her. Also, Chomp. This is what I put in my notes. She go,
It's while we're on Toa before we move to the other ones, like that's like the first. What made her my Oshi in the first place was, again, I first saw it was, I want to say it was Aikatsu, and it was some other random magical girl anime. And for some reason, there was an anime version of all 4 members of Phantom Mirage. And that's when I was like, what the heck is Phantom Mirage? I thought it was an anime. And I wanted to watch it, and then I found out what it was from another member of the Discord, and they told me about it, and that's how I ended up coming to the Discord, because I want to see what the rest of this was. And I remember saying, hey, I like the purple one. I thought that was an anime, and now I see it's live action. So that's
they had anime promos for each of the shows, except I don't think I've ever seen one from Miracle². But they had anime little chibi characters they had it for Magical² as well. And they published some short comics featuring those chibi figures in, what was the magazine? Puchigumi magazine, which is a children's magazine. And they also posted some YouTube shorts featuring those chibi sort of characters, but the VAs were not the girls themselves, so I didn't really care about it. Like, if they had the girls doing the voice, I would have cared. But for the Magical²'s chibi segments on YouTube, they just had some random anime people.
Yeah.
But care about it.
I'm going to find what I'm talking about and try to post it in the notes, because I know it was an actual anime that exists, and it was like a random scene where this big TV came on. It was actually their voices, and they were like talking as the characters. And I'm like, what's this show? And it just got my attention.
They had I think some commercial spots that may have been the same sort of chibi anime characters with some voiceover from the girls, but only for commercials.
Yeah.
Not for anything that was a specific feature like on YouTube. They did also have separate YouTube features. I think they did this for Phantom Mirage as well, and they might still be on the Takara.
Yeah, but these was on this show that they weren't chibi, and that's right why I thought it was just I don't know how that collaboration even works. It was a normal episode. There were only very been like a minute, just set their intro and then the Phantom Mirage thing, and then the episode kept going like nothing.
I remember this now. Yeah, they did do a promo between Aikatsu and Phantom that I think involved some like arcade machines and I saw them at like the Molly Fantasy stores and stuff. This is before they did the ones for Garagaku, mind you. But they had some like little arcade machines at the malls. This was even when no, but it was between Aikatsu and also various Girl Senshi series. They did this 2 or maybe 3 times. I don't remember. I don't recall if they did it again with Pat. But they definitely did it for Magical² and they did it again for Phantom with an Aikatsu collab, because they're both Takaratomi. Aikatsu is the Takaratomi magic. Right. So, okay, after Toa, I had Momo. In my notes I put for Momo, I think she's actually insane, but I'm about it. I'm with it. I'm totally, like, girl, you're going through psychosis? I'll go with you. Buy me a ticket. Well, she's not really that insane, but she just has such off-the-wall ideas as she comes up with. And her Instagram posts...
I love her Instagram.
Like, oh my gosh, just look at anything she posts on Instagram. This girl is fucking unhinged, and I love it. She's also got the most amazing singing. If ever I come across, like, if I can't fall asleep, like, I just put on the beginning of Skip, the song Skip with the Momo solos, with the long Momo solo section. Instant. It takes like...
Maybe because I got into the fandom later, but the first song that pops in my head with her is always Love Genic, because you just hear her voice really good in that one. That is like the Momo song for me. It's like, you see her in the video a lot, you hear her voice a lot, and like, yeah, just like, this is her song. At least it's not your favorite song, the Chulu Choo Choo. Oh,
that one's been stuck in my head all day because you mentioned...
Those lyrics are so silly, but I love it. It's like a...
That's like a...
like a birthday song.
I do see that. I get that vibe from it. It's just the kind of song you could never get out of your head once you hear it once. Like you hear it one day, then congratulations. I hope you like hearing this song on loop in your own head for the next 3 months, because that's your existence now. And I had just forgotten about Chulu Choo Choo, and then this morning you brought it up to chat, and it's been playing in the background. Even right now, I'm just hearing quietly choo choo choo.
Like, what is Chulu Choo Choo even supposed to mean? It's just a sound. Like, when songs just add sounds that don't mean anything, it's always funny to me. I'm like, what the? I don't know.
Choo is like a kissing sound, and I think it's supposed to be sort of tied to that, but not explicitly. It's like, it invokes that image, but like in sort of an ambiguous way. That's how I always interpreted the song, at least. I don't know if it's intentional. They might have left it sort of there.
Like, if I have to give an image for the song Chulu Choo Choo Choo, it'd just be, there's a birthday party, there's young kids eating cake, and it's what you expect from if you were like, grew up in like the 80s, 90s birthday parties. Everybody just having a good time. That's why the lyrics are just so silly
the little
like
freezy
that.
cups.
Like, yeah, just...
And the little drinks that are in little...
You got the kid trying to hit the pinata and missing it because they keep pulling it up. You know, just welcome to my party, shake it to my body, choo choo choo, and all the weird stuff. It makes sense.
Spacewalk filled with dirty water and grass. I don't know what they call that in your part of it. That's something they call something different in every part of the United States. You know, in Louisiana, we call it a spacewalk. In other places, they call it like a Jupiter jump. It's a bounce house.
Oh, the bounce house?
That's another one. We call it a spacewalk. Bounce house. That's another one.
Spacewalk? No, it's a bounce house. Oh, I also want to point out that when I said that the members, we were including Ron in this, because Ron is always a member of Girls² for me.
Yeah, Ron is next. Ron is next. I wasn't going to admit Ron. What do you think? You think I'm some kind of heathen?
I mean, I don't know.
We never forget Ron. Don't ever forget Ron. You never forget Ron. And you're watching this video right now. Well, I'm going to hold my tongue. Anyway, Ron. I love Ron because she's like a marshmallow. I always called her that because she's soft, she's cute, and she's basically a marshmallow. Dude, the first time I met Ron in person, it would have been the Doki Doki secret party. They had a handshake event for it. And I went and I talked to her, and I don't even remember what I really said to her. I remember saying Hajime Machite, and I remember the way her eyes lit up. I remember the way her face looked like it was yesterday. So it's the kind of thing that will always stick with you. And I remember taking her hand, and it was just, the first thing I thought was, damn! What kind of moisturizer does this girl use? I need it! Dude.
I feel like what would have been funny...
It's a cloud.
I feel like what would have been funny is if she looked at you like that and she thought you were the taco drum guy. Awesome.
No. It was that secret party. That was the right one. You're right for that. But I only put on the hoppy to take pictures with Toa. So at the time I met Ron, I was wearing just a t-shirt that said Samurai on it. I didn't put the hoppy on yet. So she might not recognize me as such. She probably wasn't even there to film that episode. It was probably a Toa only. So I'm not sure she would have been familiar. Toa told me she recognized what the cosplay was, but I'm not sure. She may have remembered.
But I think my initial reaction to Ron almost got me kicked out the Discord, probably, because I was going off of her character. I only knew her character, and when her character first showed up in Phantom Mirage, I didn't like the character Saber at first because she just was kind of mean and like, you're not worthy of being a Phantom. I'm like, who are you? And then as the show went on, she became like one of my favorite characters. And then as I learned more about the group, we know I call her Diamond all the time. She's like one of my favorites. She's like my top 4 favorites.
I agree with that too, because she really does. And I was going to remark on this too. I forgot to put it in my notes. But she really does, like, when you see her in person, just like the way she smiles and her eyes, they literally just have this otherworldly, sparkling quality. It's like literally like in an anime, there would be like this big diamond shape that pops up and like expands outwards, like the show like something shiny, like that stereotypical like manga shape. You know what I'm talking, right?
Like right now, I know she's doing the
Kira particles kind of thing. That's I can swear I literally saw that coming up for
like I know she's in that Produce 101 100 or whatever show. Produce, is it 101 or 100?
Yes, and
if she does not
I only
end
want to
up,
comment on that limited.
Like if she doesn't end up being like one of the top members on that, something's wrong because she stands out everywhere she goes. Like a lot of people think I call her Diamond because she was Phantom Diamond on Phantom Mirage. That's part of it, but it also is more because again she stands out like a diamond. When I think of her, diamond is what pops up.
Dude, I was telling Bobby or something posted a video in our Discord the other day that was it was like a TikTok reel of like 5 of the girls from the show doing a dance to that song that they have for it now. They have that one song, which I actually really like that song. But I don't care about it that much because you can't really hear anyone's voices on it. But it was a TikTok of several of them, between 5 and 8 of them maybe dancing. But the first time I tried to open it, I feel like I must have been in a subway tunnel in Japan or something, because I was getting very poor reception. And the video was loading, but it was loading in like 144p.
Oh god!
So it was like watching a PS1 game play on a screen. So I couldn't really see any of the girls' faces. But then as soon as it got to Ron, who was the last one in the line, I was like, oh, well, clearly that's Ron. Because she was so much better of a dancer than all the other girls that have been previous to her in the video. Like, I didn't see any other... I was seeing silhouettes. I was just seeing shapes of people. And then as soon as I saw one shape come on and was just a much better dancer than everyone else, I was like, oh, that's Ron. I was like, okay, the one that's obviously better than the other ones.
Like, who's that person? It's Ronnie!
Yeah. So she's great. Any base Ron, and she's... Next, I have User. And I know you brought this up earlier, so she's been around since Miracle, but like, I have very little, I sort of reinvented my understanding of her, I guess, between Miracle Tunes and between when I actually got to know her as part of Girls² It's like, that was her real beginning. She's not at all like her character from Miracle Tunes is the thing. She's not.
Oh no.
She played Fuga, like very like intense and like sort of like angy, like fun, like, and like Yuzu was absolutely not. Yuzu couldn't hold anger towards. Well, she's a very expressive person, I'd say, but she's not vindictive. It's how I describe. Like, she definitely will vent her frustrations, and she does so very openly. Like, if you read the way she writes her blogs, it's very. She was always a pain in the ass for me to translate, and I would always complain about Yuzu blogs because she's the hardest one to translate by far, by like a lot. But I think it's not a point against her, because what that means is she's good at using the Japanese language. It just means she uses it on levels that I don't understand, I'm not familiar with, you know?
Right.
But she's very expressive, you know? And she has unique ways of expressing herself that rely on very clever, like, tricks of wordplay and, like, shared knowledge between people of her own demographic, whether it's to say younger Japanese girls. That wasn't really conveyed to me when I would read her diaries. So I feel like that was always sort of a point of disconnect between me and Yuzu, but I saw that as a strength on her part, and the deficiency was on my you know, because it's just, I'm not familiar with the way she speaks, but the way she does it is, it's very complex, it's very involved, and it's very emotional, very expressive, and I loved that about Yuzu.
One thing I do hate is that I joined the fandom as late as I did, because I wish I could have followed that journey from the beginning, as I mentioned in my Yuzu video. I wish I could have been there from the beginning, but I watched it out of order. And there's a bit of a disconnect for me, like what you said, is like, I don't see, when I see Fuka, I don't think Yuzu, I just see Fuka. I have to remind myself, oh wait, this is Yuzu. Because she even looks wildly different than that now. And sounds wildly different. I have to keep reminding myself, this is Yuzu. I'm like, this is the same person.
She looks so different than she used to on the show. Huh. Yeah, on Miracle², she looks a lot different. She has a much more sort of grown up.
Like, she could probably...
She posted a picture the other day that I was just like, lost my mind over it. It was just gorgeous.
I feel like if she dyed her hair black and did a ponytail and put the outfit back on, I still wouldn't recognize her as Fuka.
She has done that somewhat recently. Didn't they do that maybe a couple of years ago? They all put their old costumes back on. There's one of her wearing it, at least as recently as maybe 2.5 years ago. I think it was when the Lucky 2 members were still OHA girls. They had a bunch of old ones come on and wear their old outfits or something. Or it might have been for the Girls' Senshi 5th anniversary, because they came out with a soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember they were in the movie too with the outfits.
She looked vastly different like that too, yeah. But really, she's actually, when you talk to Yuzu, it's like actually kind of an unexpected, because she's actually pretty shy, like in person. Like, she definitely does her best to talk to you. She won't just stand there and not say anything, because she knows it's her job to talk to you. She knows how to do well at it. But it's like, it doesn't seem to come as naturally to her. You can tell when you're standing directly in front of her that she's actually kind of a shy person. She just becomes very expressive and very emotional when she's no holds barred mode. You know, and you can really see that when she's with people she's really comfortable with, like Kurea, and when she's with Rom. It's so wholesome.
But yeah, I just hate I wasn't there from the beginning, because I'm jealous of everyone that was there from the beginning. They get to see Yuzu from the beginning, go through all of this different group changes and just seeing the direction the group is going in and everything. Now they just, again, like if you're a Yuzu Oshi, and I feel like you love this group, and I feel like you're spoiled because she's been around.
The Yuzu Oshis have so much to go off of, and there's even lost content coming up from back when, from like when she was in Amore Karina, which is the group she was in before I think she even started attending EXPG.
Oh, I know that group a little too well.
Yeah. Oh, you had something to do with that separately, right? But like she was in like a branch chapter of it, not the main group.
But yeah, I know that group because of Momohime.
Was the main group based?
Oh no, I was saying I know that group because of Momohime. Momohime Kyono is where I know that group from.
And she became Hello Project? Like?
Yeah, she became Hello Project and part of the Beyonds. I don't know if you pronounce all those O's like that. Beyond.
Yeah. With all the, I'm familiar with the group. I've seen it before, and I'm pretty sure I've complained on stream before about how they wrote the name, because I'm like, this is the prime example of how Japanese people think they can just do anything they want with the Latin alphabet, and it makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense to us.
Because technically they would be BU.
I'm gonna make a 30-minute video about how Japanese people misappropriate the Latin alphabet. Next person on the list
is Minami.
And Minami's a baby. Look at her. She's a baby. Minami. Look at her. She's a baby. That's it. That's like no, but also like one actual thing I love about Minami is like Yuzu is expressive with her words. I was just going on about that. Minami has the most amazing face. Just like the way she makes facial expressions, the way she reacts to stuff is hilarious to me. One of my favorite examples I can come up with, it was actually, I think, a Yuzu blog video, and I don't remember the date of it, but there was a video in Yuzu's blog where she took videos of her going around and running up to the other members and unexpectedly tickling them. Like, she would just go in and start tickling them. And when she tickled Minami, it was like, she just made the most hilarious, it's like, both her arms withdrew into her body, and she just made, like, this shocked, like, you would have thought she was, like, getting stabbed or something. She was just like, no. Like, she was just like, it was so funny.
I was going to ask if you're sure about that, because Kurea makes expressions, but then I thought about it. Minami does do some very noticeable facial expressions. Like, she does a death stare that, I don't know what it was, but Youka did something on one of the videos. I guess she talked out of line, and that death stare, like, the look Minami gave her was like, do it again. Do it again. I'm like, okay, don't piss off Minami. I feel like...
You just reminded me of another one, which is one on the Gata Gata channel, which is the video where they took some of the members' bags and dumped them out and examined the contents, which they do on a lot of idol-related channels. It's a very common idol YouTube kind of thing. So they took Minami's bag, and they started digging through the contents of it, and they pulled out, or Minami actually was pulling the things that one wanted to show them, and she pulled out a bag of, like, lemon-flavored, like, gummy candy or something. And then Youka in the corner just goes, kawaii, Minami-chan, kawaii. And everyone else around her starts going, kawaii. Like, they just agree with her. And Youka was clearly just fucking with Minami, and Minami's just making his face like, what's wrong with you? It was hilarious to me.
Like, I like how she can go from just looking cutesy, innocent to I will kill you in a heartbeat. She can switch to that. Like, I kind of want to see her play a villain because she has that death stare, and it's legit scary when she does it.
I would, yeah, something like, I don't know what it would be, because there's no more Girls² series.
I feel like they should just start branching out and doing movies. Shoot.
Okay, that was the last member. Did you not want to also hear the Lucky 2 members?
Yes, we're going to go to the Lucky members. As I said, I would love to start this off with Lena because Fandom Mirage, Sarai. I have a series of Sarai videos I'm going to do. One asking if she's still human, if her character actually really is human. Another one just talking about the great writing behind her character. Sarai made me a Lena fan. I feel like if whoever played that role, if they would have went on to be a member of Lucky would have been my favorite. That's just how that worked. Whoever played that role would have went on to be my favorite, I feel.
It was a neat little arc, and I liked how they incorporated her into it later. And they kind of lightly explained the fact of what's his name, the bad guy from Phantom being her dad in the Love Pat show.
Yeah, Sakasama.
That was a little weird.
I don't.
Yeah. Like, he came back, but he was like some normal dude now. Like, I was like, huh. We could use a little bit more info on that.
They just
basically just...
They mentioned a mom that they never showed. And I'm like, who's this mom? She's a doll, technically. I don't know. But they acknowledged that she was a doll. Like, she still mentions that even in that Caremaking Powers, I think she kind of vaguely mentioned that. I'm like, what the? I don't know. Continuity broken.
It's like, the continuity is not very important. The shows were all written for preschoolers. They were written for children between the ages of 3 and 7. Like, you know, they're not asking too many questions. But Rena, in my notes, I put Gordon Ramsay's favorite idol.
Yeah, what did you mean by that?
Because she cooks so good. I could not cook anything like she does now when I was even, like, twice her current age. Like, I started cooking stuff, well, I guess twice. I would have started trying to, like, cook things on my own when I was, like, 23 or 24. And she was 13 years old on the Garden. She's cooking whole meals by herself now.
Is that not normal?
Putting like Gordon Ramsay in the back, like Gordon Ramsay, like putting spices on things, like beautiful, stunning, absolutely.
Well, I assumed that was normal because I was like doing that stuff at like 11, 12. But then again, I've been in the
I
kitchen
feel like
since I
that's
was
not.
6.
Yeah, that's not me. I never had to cook a single thing for myself until I was like 20, until I moved out on my own. I didn't cook it all on my own when I lived. Well, I didn't have interest in it at the time, but I acquired that interest later. You know, I like doing it now.
I would argue that my idol fandom made me
thought.
enjoy cooking more because there's so many different shows of random idols cooking things. Is that a requirement? They have to know how to cook because so many they just cook.
Well, I didn't know what an idol was prior to 2014, and that was when I had first.
I have a theory. I have no proof behind this, but I think because I always like try to rate who's like best at what. I think that Lena is secretly the best dancer in Lucky Lucky. Like secretly the best dancer, and we don't know it yet. We just need them to do a dance break and let everybody have a solo. And my reasoning behind that is, even though they're not related, she has the same last name as Kira, and Kira is like the best in Girls². And looking at the videos that I've seen from TikTok and everything, I just look at like group videos when they do stuff. She just seems to have very fluid movements, and I'm like, she could probably really dance if they just let her do her own thing. So I'm gonna stick to that. That I think she might secretly be the best dancer in the group. I don't know. Like, have you've seen her live? So what are your take?
When you say best dancer, do you mean like freestyle? Because as a live performer, demonstrably, like Akari is objectively the best dancer.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You can see that
I mean,
when you watch the dance.
Yeah.
It's not that. Rina is probably at the higher end of them if I were to grade it. I don't know how I'd put it if I were to rank all of them sort of, but Akari would certainly be number 1. Rina might be 3 or 4 or 5 for me. If I were to put anyone above her, maybe Yua and even Yura, and then
I forgot about Yura.
Kana and Rudy also.
Okay.
I'd have to pay more attention, but it's the way I think about it is the only way we can evaluate their dancing is based on what we see and what they're actually given to do, right? So based on what they've actually done, Akari is definitely the best dancer, like by a lot, by honestly an unbelievable margin. And that's what I put in her.
Fitting that she was Rion.
I tried to.
But yeah, for me, I'm very overly analytical about dance styles. Again, I made like the videos with like analyzing their dances, and it's like the little subtle things that I notice in her movements. I'm like, I want to see a freestyle. Like when they all do like group things, it's like certain subtle little movements. I'm like, the movements seem more pronounced and more fluid, and I just feel like she might secretly be better than she's making out to be. She might be like a lot better. It's just when it's a choreography and everybody's doing the same thing.
Because there's a difference, particularly among Japanese people, I think, in being a trained dancer and in being a freestyle. Because in the Japanese mind, right, if you're good at dancing, it's because you're good at practicing the dance. Basically, it's like everything to them has a lot to do with practice and the mastery of something. And I feel like art in Japan in general has less to do with improvisation and freestyle. There's a little bit of a scene of that. And there's one girl I follow on Instagram called Hinata Shimauchi, who's like a world like breaking champion. And she's like 15 or 16 at this point. She's a Japanese girl, and she goes to like global breaking championships. And she's really good at, and that's like a freestyle type. It's a freestyling based form of dance, right? Breaking. You know, it's like they'll put any track on and you have to know how to go to it. It's not like, I mean, she has routines as well, something to say that she brings to competitions, but it's like, this is the nature of it. Whereas the nature of the kind of dancing they do at EXPG is maybe sort of styled on that, and sort of styled on hip-hop over. But breaking as a subgenre of hip-hop dance is very freestyle-based, and the kind of hip-hop dance that they do in Japan is not very freestyle-oriented, or it doesn't have much of an emphasis on that. At least that's what I've seen as the difference between seeing people who do a lot of dance in Japan versus having some dance experience here. All
right. Now, like, I do know Yua is she was classically trained in ballet or something, wasn't she? Because she just has this very ballet-like movements to her.
I even forgot to include this. I think I might have mentioned it on my last stream, but I forgot to include it in my live report when I went to the release event a couple weeks ago. Yua, when she introduced herself, she said, "I'm the ballerina of the group." She had some line about that, like, I'm the lucky two ballerina, and she did this, like, triple pirouette across the stage. They, like, cleared a path for her and, like, had, like, this whole thing. She did this like, triple pirouette from upstage to downstage, and it was great. Everyone cheered for her. Okay, let's go down them really quick.
Okay,
Kana, I put literally the platonic form of cute. Like, the dictionary, like, if you were to try and describe to an alien what the word cute means, I would just show them a picture of Kana. I'd be like, see this? And they would just be like, oh. In whatever alien language they speak, and would just be like, yeah, you know that feeling? That's what cute means. that's how I explain Kana. Hiro is literally perfect. Hiro has never done a single thing wrong in her life, and if you ever say anything negative to me about Hiro, I'm never going to. Hiro has never done anything wrong. I love Hiro, if you haven't gathered that. I'm a very strong Hiro.
I like her. I like her a lot, but I will admit that I didn't know what her name was for the longest. Like, because I kept calling her Yuzuki when I was watching Kirby Powers. I'm bad with names. I'm bad with names, but I loved her character Yuzuki so much that I would accidentally call her Yuzuki, even in the Discord sometimes. I'm like, I mean Hiro. I mean, I know her name, obviously, now.
But she's perfect. She's perfect. She's never made a mistake. If you've ever seen her do something that you thought was a mistake, and you said, hey, that's a mistake, I hate to fill you in on this, but then you made a mistake, is what happened. You made a mistaken interpretation of what she did. That's how I explain here. Let's move on to the next one. Kiki, quiet baby energy, constantly doing cute nonsense.
Wait, who?
He just does like little silly things all the time that are just like so adorable.
Wait, who are we talking about? I missed the name. It kind of stuttered there.
One of my favorite things is they had Kiki.
Oh, Kiki.
Kiki-tan.
I don't know why somebody said cheeky at first. I'm like, what the heck? Who's cheeky? Kiki is cheeky.
Kiki, aka Kitan. A lot of the members call her Kitan. I forgot to. When I went to the release event recently, actually, I think it was like 2 or 3 of them referred to her as Kitan, and the rest of them referred to her as Kiki. And I forget, Yura definitely called her Kitan.
I cannot go to those concerts. I'm going to embarrass people. Because every time she do something, I'll be in the crowd screaming, Giga-chan! Giga-chan!
They're not going to know what you're saying.
They're going to kick me out.
You can do that. That's what I did at the last release event, because it was the first event I had been to in years, but they actually let you scream. They walked out, and I was like, But yeah, anyway. Kiki is always just doing like very like low key, very cute stuff. She's pretty good at Fansa, I guess, after having been to this one release event. The thing that always stands out to me about her is they did like an Insta Live at some point after some other release event when I wasn't there in person. And it's like all of them were on screen, but Kiki, like you couldn't see Kiki because she was in the back, so she just jumps into the screen for a second. Like, she just, like, jumped. She just, like, leaped. And you can hear her, like, you can hear her let out a little yelp when she does it in the video. She was like, eek! And I thought it was the most hilarious thing, because, like, it was, like, Yura taking the video in the front, and all the rest of them were on screen, but Kiki was too far in the back, and they couldn't see it. So she just, like, jumped, and then Yura was just like, oh, Kitan's in the back. It was my favorite thing.
What pops in my head when I think of her will always be her dance from Riza Star, where she does the little snap thing, where she goes to the floor and she gets up and does a little run in place thing. That whole little segment, I'm like, I love this dance. That's the first thing popped in my head when I think of her.
I've not seen it. I've seen none of her stuff. I haven't seen it.
Not even a dance? She did. Okay, you might want to check that one out, then.
Nope, none of it. Yeah, that's one of the places that I fell behind, because that basically all came out after I moved away. Who's after Kiki? Yura, princess. Period. Like, basically, she was such a period princess. Like, but she also really grew into her role as a leader. Like, I never would have thought this the first time I saw Yura, like, during Love Pat, when she was there as a side character initially, and then she eventually came, and she was, like, one of the real girls, so I was like, because, like, I thought even when she was still a side character and we didn't really anticipate her being one of the girls, so I was like, oh, she's cute. I like her glasses. And then she showed up and she was one of the real girls, and I was like, well.
I wanted her to stay as the side character. I loved Sora, but I didn't care for Love Pet Shine. She had sort of this, like, quiet vibe that I was like, I wasn't sure how she was going to come into her own. But since the beginning of it, having seen her a couple weeks ago, live, she's really good at it now. She just got really good at it. Because they just made her the leader, I guess. And she was just like, okay, time to get serious. And she got really serious about it. And she's actually very good at it now. And I mentioned this in my live report from the release event a couple weeks ago. Is she was on stage, and there were a lot of technical difficulties just from the staff at the venue, not knowing how to set their audio up. And, like, when the whole thing went quiet, and everyone was like, what's going on? Yura was just, like, there in the middle of the stage, like, not just appealing to the crowd, you know, doing Bansa by herself. Like, she was getting everyone to do it. Like, she was, like, on her mic, like, oh, let's just, like, hey, everyone. Like, she was, like, keeping control of the whole event by herself, independently, without a script. And like, it was an unforeseen event, a technical hiccup. And, like, no one needed to direct her. She was just like, I'm going to take control of the situation, and she did. And it was amazing. And I loved her for that. Just a couple weeks ago. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how far she's come. Yeah, really stepping up to the leader role there. I like stuff like that.
Yeah. It was really great. And I love her so much. She's so good. Anyway, the next one is Yua.
Everybody's favorite.
I love how much of a ham Yua is. She just, and I don't, well, you interpret this how you might, but Yua craves attention. And that is an objective fact. The one other thing I'm going to say that's an objective fact is that because Yua craves attention, I will always provide her with the attention. I'm never going to stop. She doesn't just ask for your attention, she takes it. You know, it's you can't look away from Yua. She has that infectious quality about her that she just pulls people in a way that is just intense and, like, irresistible. And it's so great. She has so much energy, and you could never stop it.
Would you agree that she's also the most expressive member in Lucky Lucky? Like, all of her reactions and everything. She's like...
Give me that one more time.
Would you agree that she's the most expressive member? Because she just... like you said, you can't keep your eyes off her. When she does something...
I would agree with that. Yes, definitely.
Like, there's even a TikTok I seen with them dancing, and she just at the end is just stretching at the end of the dance, but she's, like, doing it in like a look at me type of way. And I'm like, what is Yua doing in the background? You can't not look.
I said that about Yuzu as well for Girls². But for Yua, I would say, yeah, I guess she kind of does have a Yuzu-like energy, but unlike Yuzu, she's not naturally shy in her own private personality. Like, when you speak to Yua, when you encounter her directly, she's very confident. She's very self-assured. Very easy to talk to Yua, and she has no hesitations about interacting with people. Definitely one of the easier ones. And definitely up there among the dance. Obviously, I said a second ago, Akari is the best. Yua is probably the second best.
Yeah, Yua definitely has a star power. Like, she was like born to be some kind of star. She just has that star power.
She's very good at it. She's very good at all. Okay, after Yua is Baki.
There we go.
Dude,
I'm sorry, I got
I'm a Misaki Oshi because I was a Misaki Oshi because I thought she was the smartest member of Girls². But like Baki, Baki's a genius. She's like, I really don't even have, especially after this last encounter that I had with it, because it was actually, I had spoken to Baki before, but it was on one of the Fortune Meets events. It was over the phone. So I had never been able to speak to her face to face until a couple weeks ago. And she was the only one that, like, is like, I went into this event, which, you know, when I was younger, I was a little bit fast and loose, and I would drink pretty heavily. But this last Lucky 2 event I went to a couple weeks ago, I was completely sober. And I walked through the line, and because I was completely sober, I had a lot of trouble coming up with words to say. It's a lot easier for me to speak Japanese when I've had a drink or two, maybe. It's like, you hit a point after which, of course, you can't say anything. You just sound like, you know, you sound like nothing. But if you have one or two drinks, maybe you feel confident, and then I'll speak Japanese easily. But like this event that I went to a couple weeks ago, I hadn't had anything to drink all day. So I was going in just like stone faced, and like I was just like, oh, I'm not used to this. Because I used to be going to this as this reckless young roustabout who would down 3 cans strong before going to take a check. But, you know, I can't do that anymore. I'm not a young man anymore. So I just go up to all of them, and I don't know what to say to any of them. And I told the story in the Discord also, but I did 9 passes around it's not a high touch line technically anymore, because you can't actually touch their hands. They're behind a plastic screen. But it's better than what they had during COVID. It's like a pseudo high touch line, kind of. Where it's like you're doing the same thing essentially, but you can't, there's a plastic screen between you. You just go, say, like, wave to all of them. But the only one I could talk to was Baki, obviously, because I couldn't speak any Japanese because I was so nervous. I hadn't seen any of them in a year. I was completely stone-faced, and I had woken up at, like, 5 o'clock that morning. So, like, on pass number, like, 4 or 5 out of 9, there were only a couple people left. Everyone else had only gotten 1 or 2 tickets. Because all the rest of them, if you think about it, were probably going to all the release events. Me, I was only there for this one. I couldn't go to any of the rest of them. So I was like, I'm going to buy 9 singles. 9 tickets. And so I did. So I was there on pass 4 or 5. And Baki gave me the space. Well, several of them gave me the space. Like, oh, it's you again. Like, because obviously they don't get that many foreign people going through the line. And I just said it to Baki because I was like, she was the only one who would understand me. I was like, dude, I got 9 of these things. That was what I said to her. And she was just like, oh.
You said this in English?
Yeah, I said it in English. But she told the rest of them, like, I heard her telling the rest of them afterwards, like you bought, she might have a ticket. Something like that. Something along those lines. And everyone was like, Baki is like their on-the-ground interpreter. It's like, she's so clever. She's so on. Baki has so much awareness of herself, is what I would say to describe. It's like, of all of them, and this is the phenomenon we were talking about earlier, where you call it priming, and the Japanese fans, it's fansa. Fansa, right? Where you, or apiru.
She is the queen of priming, I'd say.
Yeah, Baki was always noticeably way better at that than any of the rest of them. Like, the first time I noticed that was when I went to the fan meeting in February of 22, just before I moved back. It was one of the first, like, in-person events you could go to again. After the Girls², the live tour. I'd been to the live tour, and then they started holding the fan meetings for in-person. But you still couldn't shout or anything. But it was like as the COVID rules were starting to... But that was great. I noticed, like, Baki was so on point. The whole... It's like none of them pay attention to what's going on around them, like any of the rest of them. And, like, I'm a strong Hero Oshi, and I'm always going to claim that Hero has no flaws, and she's never done anything wrong in her life, and she's never made a mistake, and everything about her is perfect. And don't you dare complain about Hero, because I'm going to get angry if you do. But anyway, I love Hero, but Hero is actually really bad. If I were going to rank all of them on, like, how much attention they pay in the crowd, Hero almost never, like, to me as a Hero, I was suffering. I was just sitting there in the crowd shouting, Hero! Hero! And she literally never, like, looked. I guess that's just part of how she is. And the way I justify it is, if she's not paying attention to me, it's because I did something wrong and it's clearly my fault. And she has her own reasons for it. Because she can't be wrong, right?
Right.
So...
I mean, technically, she was doing her job. She got to make sure she performed.
And at this last release event I went to, they did this thing, because it's a release event for Yume Zora Nihane. Buy it if you haven't already. It's amazing. It might be one of their best songs so far. I would put it second to Kimiski. I'm
Call me weird, but my favorite is Fun. But that's probably because it reminds me of Kirmaki Powers.
Keeping yourself elusive, I guess, is... Yeah. But anyway, please buy Yume Zora Nihane. It's amazing. It's their best song since Kimiski, I'd say, if I had to vote on all of them. I'm not going to like the song better than I liked Kimiski so much. I love that. I especially like the Hero forehead look. Hero forehead, and I...
So what you're saying is Kimiski is better than Chulu Choo Choo?
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic, the first one. I liked Hero a lot in that one too. Her outfit and her... I don't know what my favorite hairstyle is for her. Anything, honestly. Anything works for her. I just love her so much. I like her current hair color a lot too with the red. It very much suits her. I feel like it's very... I very rarely like the dyed hair color.
For me, I would say favorite hairstyle is probably going to be the...
Anyway.
The
Baki's
ponytail
a genius, and she's great at Hansa. We talked about Rina. Akari is obviously the best, like, dancer of the group, but, like, what I also think is insane about her is, like, she has the ability to influence people in a way that they don't even notice. Like, it's hidden. Like she's a newer member of the group, but, like, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but, like, when they sign off from their release event, like, at the end of their release events, they all say Dai Sushi, every single one of them. It's not just an Akari thing anymore, but Akari invented it. She invented a meme that the entire group adopted as their official slogan. Like, accidentally. Like, she didn't intend to do that. She just came up with the whole she thing, and now they just say Dai Sushi, every one of them. It's their, like, official. And I was like, that's so cool. That's like she's... So that's Akaru's thing. It's like she's just so like naturally influent, and like she joined the group, and immediately, at least everyone in the G2 collective was just like Akari, 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 Akari. Like everyone loved her instantly. Like she took off just like a fucking rocket ship, dude. It was insane how quick the Akari fans built up.
I compare every member in the group to a member in Girls because there was 9 and 9 at one point. That was 9 and 8. And I always compared her to Momo because she's like the really serious looking one, but is kind of goofy. She's not as goofy as Momo, but I feel like she's like the closest we got in that group to being like Momo.
Okay. I always compared her to Ron because Ron is also a little goofy, and Akari and Ron are both best dancers of each group. Well, Kira gives Ron a little bit of money, but in Lucky Lucky, Akari is unrivaled.
She is definitely the cool
You
member
might
too,
come
though.
a bit close.
It's like when I think of like
I think
the cool member, she just comes off as the cool girl in the group.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Akari actually also similarly to Yuzu, she has like that goofball kind of personality in private, but in person she's actually a little shy. She doesn't say that much on her own. Like you really have to prod her into it. And I feel like for Yuzu is like forthright about that in her diaries, and Akari might be too, but I haven't read as many of Akari's diaries because Akari only started writing her diaries about the same time I started doing the translations. So I guess I don't know her as well. But it's like, in person, she is a little shy. And that caught me off guard a bit.
Now, the member we got left for Lucky Lucky.
Dude,
I kind of want to know your thoughts on her, because I don't think I've ever really heard you say anything about her. And she's like one of my favorites. I don't think I ever heard anything about Ririka.
So good. I hadn't... Yeah, I may not have mentioned her yet on this video, come to think of it. That's true. But she made a very strong impression on me on this event, because she was one of the ones I hadn't met in person yet until last month, a couple weeks ago when I went. Right, the 3 newer members, I hadn't met them in person. All the rest of them I have spoken to before, right, previously. But Akari, Riri, and Kiki, this is my first time seeing them all in person. And Riri, what I really like about her is when she talks, when she just gets started talking on something, it's so funny. Because she goes, like, she rants about things. And she's similar to me in that way. Because if you tell me about something, like, say one word to me about something that I love, like, if you just walk up to me on the street and say, Hero, I'll just be like, Hero is the best. She's never made a mistake. And she just blows and da-da-da.
And then when you're done with it, they would say, I meant Hero from Gundam Wing. I'm like, oh, wrong Hero.
And I'll just be like, oh, I've never even heard of that. But that's exactly how Ririka is. She goes into these rants where she starts to talk, and her voice just starts to lilt upwards, and it's adorable. She is like, ano ne, anasa, anasa, ano ne, anasa, ano ne, ano ne, anasa, anasa, ano ne, anasa, ano ne. And that's exactly how Ririka talks. She's got that kind of, again, what I would describe as the charm point, like the sort of seems like it's disparaging, but maybe it is a compliment. I would call her a typically ochokocho. Have you heard that word? Or, like, it means, like, kind of like a doofus, but in, like, an affectionate way. Like, absent-minded is how I told one of my students to translate it one time. Ochokocho. That's how I would describe Ririka. She's a little bit, like, she comes across as spacey. But not because she's actually stupid. It's just like she's just got the kind of personality where her attention just sort of drifts. And then, but once you get her started on something, she'll just start going, yeah, that's fine.
I don't know if you watched the video where I compared them all to a Pokemon, but she was Bellossom. For me, she was just Bellossom because I'm like, yep, just Because I remember the
No,
Blossom episode, how Blossom is just so goofy and cutesy. Just Blossom, like she just has that same energy.
I can picture that just like standing in the sun, dancing around, like they're in like little hula motions, just like a perfect. That's actually perfect. Also, I put in my notes. Her solos in Yume Zari Hane were amazing. She had so many like vocal solos in that song and in the video, and she was definitely a standout of that song and of that video.
At this point with them, a lot of them still kind of have like the babyish voices, so I can't really tell a lot of them apart. Like the main three voices I can tell when I hear it who it is. I know Akari's voice when I hear it. I know Hiro's voice when I hear it. And I know Yura's voice when I hear it. Sometimes I know Yua. Sometimes I'll think I'm hearing Lena, but it's actually Baki. They kind of sound similar when they sing. But yeah, I feel like their voices haven't really got that
Have you seen the
distinction yet to where they sound different enough from each other.
I know that. Yeah, have you not seen the video for Yume Zari Hane? Because it's amazing. And I'm pretty sure the whole thing is public. And it's international. I don't think I even had to turn my VPN on to see it.
That's the one where they're wearing the white and they're in the forest, right?
They're all in the white dresses, and they're all in the fucking breeze of Scotland or something. That's not where they are, but
I wish I would have done a reaction to that one, because my reaction while watching it, I'm like, I should have made this a video. And now I can't do it because it won't be authentic. But my first reaction is I wish I would have recorded that. I think people would have enjoyed it. I was squealing like a fangirl.
On it at least. But it was so good. It was such a good. It really is a very good. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. This I feel like is going to be my favorite release for a long time, because this was one of the next points on the list. But I have concerns about the way their music is going. Specifically with G2, because I don't like K-pop is the thing. And they're very clearly trying to imitate K-pop, I think. Specifically with their most recent songs, it sounds overproduced. I can't tell any of the voices apart. It all just sounds like kind of noise and like beats in the background, and just one giant weird robot amalgam voice. The only reason I liked the music to begin with is because I could hear my girls singing it. Now it just sounds like they're trying too hard to be something that, to me, they don't come across as being that naturally.
And it's crazy to me, because at one point I liked K-pop, and then it just, like you said, it came out really overproduced, and just you don't really get to hear the voices. And it's crazy because though I don't care for K-pop as much anymore, I still like Hatsune Miku, which is the epitome of overproduced, because it's a virtual idol. But I like that because it sounds normal enough. But I hate that stupid Pokey Rabbit thing. God, I hate that rabbit.
Mm-hmm. But the voice of Miku, though, is it's like when you hear it, it is the Miku voice. You know, it's like there's no one competing in the spotlight. It's like you understand the song as being something that was created in that way, as being sung by this sort of virtual personality, right?
Right.
Whereas for me, listening to a Girls² song like The Finest, and just having them be like, this is the new Girls song with ice, which, I mean, I don't really care about iScream, but I'll respect
Ow,
who
my
they
heart.
are. They're not my group. I'm not gonna say they're useless. I don't want to say anything negative about them. There are people that are iScream fans, especially there's a lot of crossover between Girls fans and iScream fans.
I freaking love Yuna. I don't care about Ruby, but I like Yuna.
But I don't personally know anything about. I don't know a single one of their names. You know, I'm not there listening to it for them. They just happen to be there for me. But then, for a song like The Finest, it's just like a song that tried to indistinguishably blend the 12 voices together to where they all sound like one person singing. And it's just like, well, no, it's 9 girls that I care about. but I can't hear their voices, and 3 girls that I don't even know their names mixed in there, and you're making me watch this, and like this isn't the content I came for. I came for things that are like Koi Surukama, where we get little solos of all the members, and where it's not like pseudo hip hop without really understanding what American hip hop is, and where it's not really K-pop without really understanding the things that make K-pop successful. Also, like the one thing that baffles me about the fact that K-pop is so successful in the West versus J-pop is like all these Japanese producers are just like, look, they're writing all these K-pop songs in English. Let's get some Japanese people to write English lyrics to songs, and then we can do the same. Like, no, dude.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me if they played Chulu Choo Choo on the radio, you don't think it would catch on in America? Those lyrics are simple enough for Americans to like it.
But the lyrics are wrong and they're dumb.
America likes wrong and dumb.
Listen to that compared to a BTS song that became big in America. Listen to a song like Permission to Dance by BTS. This is the example I always like to use. You know who wrote the lyrics for Permission to Dance by BTS? Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran wrote the lyrics to that song. They got him to do it because he's an English guy who knows the English language, who knows how to write catchy lyrics.
It's I just don't like
Japanese
BTS.
People can write a song that, I mean, I'm not a BTS fan either, but the one thing I can't argue with is that song and that BTS in particular has fucking skyrocketed everywhere. They're insane, they're insanely popular, and it's because they know how to outsource. That is the thing that Japanese idol groups, and LDH is no exception, the Girls² songs are no exception, they're not outsourcing properly. They're we should write songs in English too to appeal to a foreign audience, but they're getting Japanese people to do it, who writes lyrics like "Welcome to my party, shaking to my body." No one's gonna relate to that, because like an American person hears that and they're just like, "Oh, well, someone who doesn't speak English clearly wrote this song, right?" Because no one who speaks the English language would write those lyrics. Right? As opposed to the K-pop producers who knew, if we want a successful song in English, let's go find the biggest selling record, like the biggest selling musical artist in the UK and get him to write our lyrics.
You know what those lyrics sound like to me, though? Those lyrics sound like when you have like that foreign exchange student who gets cool with all the Americans and he thinks he knows English, and so he tries to write something and it comes out sounding silly, and he actually just talks like that for real. Like, "Welcome to my party, shake it to my body." What the heck?
Have you ever seen, there's an anime called Gaikotsu no Shotenin-san. Gaikotsu no Shotenin Honda-san. Have you seen it? It's about a skeleton who works at a bookstore, and the skeleton's name is Honda.
Yeah, I've seen clips of that. I thought you were talking about something else. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bookseller Honda-san. Skeleton bookseller. I don't remember what the English title is. I've only ever seen it in Japanese. I've never seen the dub. There might be a dub of it, but it's like most of the humor of that show is based on like Japanese people speaking English poorly, but it's done in a very self-aware way. And it's hilarious the way they do it. And it's just like listening to the Girls² songs that they did in quote unquote English to me sounds like episodes of Gaikotsu no Shotenin.
I mean, you
like
make a good point.
It's something that you've written as a joke.
You make a great point because that one summer, they were more famous in the UK for a longer time, but Baby Metal was big in the US for like one summer. You go to Target and they were over there and everything because Baby Metal knew how to outsource. They even were like on like the American Rock Awards, and they had like performances with people like Judas Priest and stuff.
They got big into the thing is they got big into the metal scene. It's because of their producer. Koga was always a metalhead, so I feel like he knew who to reach out to. And also, the first time they really outsourced a song would have been Road of Resistance, which was the bonus track on the first album. The first official release of it was on the second album. Because on the official release of the first album, which was just titled Baby Metal, there was no Word of Resistance on it. By the time they released it in America, they included it as the final bonus track. That one was co-written by some guy that was in Dragon Force, I think, who had been kind of a meme at that point because of Through the Fire and the Flames and people would play Guitar Hero. People were just like, oh, the Dragon Force guy. And then eventually they were on the Colbert Show. They did Give Me Chocolate, which became pretty big. And that was written by Japanese people, but they didn't try to write a lot of lyrics in English. I feel like they would do better just trying to release songs purely in Japanese.
Right,
as
because
to,
I take a
if you're
lot
doing
of
the tier
lift
list,
rides.
it's going to be proper English will get you the furthest. Japanese will get you the second furthest. Shitty English will get you less far than either of the two previous things. If your English is going to be bad, it might as well be in Japanese, is what I think. Because American listeners will just reject it if they don't recognize it, really.
Right, but see...
in many cases. But if they recognize it as a foreign language, they'll be like, oh, well, this is Japanese. But if they hear the English and they say, oh, this is English, but it's bad, they just stop listening to it. I definitely know people who are of that.
Right, I feel like I know what songs would appeal to an American audience with Girls because I take a lot of lifts, and sometimes they'll let me play my music. I'm like, I got a song I want you to hear, and I put on Swipe Up, and I would say like an overwhelming 90% that I let listen to that were like, hey, this is good. Why isn't this on the radio? And they loved it. And I'm like, yeah, Swipe Up, just even though the only English words I can remember off the top of my head is like, don't cry anymore, and little simple sentences, but it just has that sound that could catch on over here, as opposed to welcome to my party, shake it to my body. What the heck is that? So,
and I've had to analyze this through my American friends who I know are not into this kind of thing at all. Is like when I've tried to introduce them to any of this, it's like even when they might admit that the song is perhaps at least even a little bit good, it's at some point they'll eventually reject it for the fact that just the place where they just perceive it as being weird before they even inputted it for processing. Does that make sense? It's what I would call a front end rejection. They haven't processed it yet. They've decided not to process it because of the nature of what it is.
Right.
For me, tell them this is from a Japanese pop group, and they just immediately go, "Oh, well, I'm clearly not going to listen to this with full intent because it's from a J-pop group who's probably just some cutesy, kawaii, AKB bullshit." Right?
Right.
Is what the impression most of them will probably get.
And I can relate to that because I'm around a lot of people that are into things that I'm not, and they'll try to hype me up on a movie, and they'll compare it to something like the Cheech and Chong films, which I never was a fan of because I'm just not big on stoner humor. It's not funny to me. And so I automatically reject it before I even try it. So I get where you're coming from. I'm like, you compared it to this, I'm not going to watch it. Yeah. And so, yeah, if they're doing that, that makes a lot of sense. Because even if something's good, if you're already looking at it like, oh, this is going to be weird, and you take it that way, you're not going to enjoy it. Even if you did enjoy it, you're going to convince yourself, but it's weird, I shouldn't listen to it.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I feel like if Girls², I don't predict them ever having international success. Unfortunately, if I'm going to be a realist, it's almost no Japanese groups ever broke that barrier. And Girls² is not even close to the top of the industry, even in Japan. So if I'm going to predict realistically, I'd say they're never going to have a significant international following. But if they do, it will be because they learn to outsource, and they learn to outsource to the proper people. I wish it had been Japan to break out, because I like their music so much better than any of the K-pops.
I think they've tried. Like, you literally have a song by Perfume on American Dad. Monochrome effect is randomly on the American Dad episode.
When did that happen?
Yeah, it was an American Dad episode. Monochrome effect is in it. Yep. Stan comes from the future and he's
Perfume
listening to some
was
J-pop.
Perfume was in Cars 2. They were in Cars 2.
Really?
Did you hear there's a clip of Perfume. They go to Japan briefly in Cars 2, and there's a Perfume song playing in the background. I thought that was hilarious.
I didn't even notice that, and I've seen Cars 2. Now I'm about to try to rewatch. I don't see what you're talking about.
Perfume is a relatively well-known name in Japan, but almost nobody knows the name Nakata Yasutaka, who is the guy who writes all of Perfume's music and all of Cherry Panyu's music. He has written so many hit songs that every Japanese person has heard, and so many of them don't even know who he is. And he's my favorite. I listen to both of those groups because I'm a fan of Nakata. Not necessarily because I like them too a little bit, I guess.
It's funny to me how many people are like fans of Hello Project and don't know that Sunku is the guy who made the music in the Rhythm Heaven games. And I'm like, he's your guy. And he's Rhythm Heaven's guy.
That's always been the thing. It's like, I like to know who wrote songs, I guess, usually. I haven't looked into that too much with Girls² because it's usually just some Japanese name, and I don't really know who they are. But there were a lot of people who wrote songs for Sakura Gakuin that they would, like, make a big deal over who it was. Like, there was this girl, Tommy February 6th. Have you heard of her? She went by a few different names as a performer, but she was in a group called the Brilliant.
I don't think I've heard of her.
They were like 90s, like all.
Doesn't sound familiar.
They're from like the late 90s, early 2000s. If you look them up, the lead singer for that girl wrote some songs for Sakura Gakuin, and her husband, who was the bassist for the same group, Junzako Okuda, they got married and they wrote a bunch of SG songs. And I like a lot of her, so...
I know I keep mentioning this song as a meme, but am I the only person that noticed that that one song I don't know the name of it. It's a song on Miracle². It's like the song that Kenon performed when she was like auditioning. It's that song, the music.
I thought I'd do it.
Yeah. If you listen to the tune, it sounds like a sped up version of Chulu Choo Choo. If you really pay attention, it sounds like it's just that, but faster.
It is the same opening. It's the same opening motive. Yeah. I think I might have recognized that before, but it's been a while since I thought about it.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, they did this.
Yeah, it is the same. I don't know if it's the same songwriter though. I haven't.
Yeah, but it's the same melody though, and I think that may account for a part of why I like it so much, because I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. It's crazy. I know it's bad, but I like it. And I think people need to realize when, like, a lot of people don't realize when something's not good just because they like it. I can realize I like something and realize this is not good. This is bad.
I try to be careful about that like, I don't look at things with rose-colored glasses because my girls are in them. Like, I can say definitively, I don't like the song The Finest. I don't like it. I don't like listening to it. I know my girls are on it, but I can't hear their voices on it. There's nothing in that song that brings me joy.
Did you like, oh shoot, what's the other one? Rocksteady?
Rocksteady was okay. Rocksteady, because Rocksteady's a little more distinctive, and there's some parts where it's better produced.
See, for me, I like those because I'm also a fan of iScream. Like you said, you don't know them like that, and I can hear my favorite members from there. Like, I like Yuna and I like Hinata. I don't like Rui too much. And I can really hear Yuna's voice a lot in there. And I'm like, hey, And I realized that if you're not a fan of them, you wouldn't like it because you hear them more than you hear the Girls² members. So I'm like, yeah, you kind of hear their voices more. I don't know if that was intentional.
And it's like I only even found any girls CDs in the Shibuya Tower record because I looked in the iScream section, so I found like 5 copies of the study. But they didn't have a Girls² section at all. They had nothing. I had to go to the Yokohama store to find anything Girls². They didn't even have it in Shibuya, which is a big port. Like, they didn't even give a shit about that, honestly. Like, I feel like they might be kind of winding down Girls², which this leads us, I guess, into our last prompt. Yeah, they might be winding down Girls². They retired e-girls within the last couple of years, right? It was 2 years ago, I think. Mm-hmm. They ended e-girls. And Girls² is basically what e-girls used to be. It's the main... Well, them and iScream. But if they're going to keep one around, they're probably going to keep iScream around, because it seems like they're billing them higher. Which, to me, makes sense.
And to that, the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. Why did Run leave just to go and be on this show to try to be in another idol group? I'm thinking that they're probably gonna, end it soon. Run probably knew it, and she probably didn't like the direction it was going. I'm like, I want to keep doing this idol thing. So she probably like, let me leave now and try this. So it's probably gonna end soon, and she probably knows.
Well, I think if anything, Ron was the first little piece to come out of the giant tower. I wasn't as concerned about before Ron left, and when Ron left, we were all kind of left wondering why. But I feel like the release of Produce 101 gives us at least a little closure in the sense of, well, now we probably know why. If Ron left the group, she probably did it because she wanted to be on the Produce 101 show. It's not we're wondering anymore, why did she leave the group at all? We know she left the group because she wanted to be on Produce 101. The question we're now left with is, yes, why did she choose only the chance to be on that show as opposed to being in Girls² permanently? Like, it's clearly she's taking sort of a gamble. It's a throw of some kind of dice. But we don't know exactly what odds she's working with. I mean, and that's a good point on your part, is she may know something about the management of Girls² right now that's going on that we don't know that could result in them winding down and finishing off over the next couple of years. And I don't know how to interpret the iScream collabs as being part of that, because why would they bring them in with iScream, a group which is more popular, unless they're trying to promote them more, unless this is perhaps their sort of last gambit, like a test to see if bundling them with iScream.
Let's look at this from another angle. I can compare it to what I'm used to with seeing in gaming generations when they release another console. This is like the end. They took the foot off the gas. They're like, you know what? Let's just give them some ports. Or let's give them some collaborations with other people. And what are they doing? A bunch of collaborations. These are the ports before they say goodbye. That's what it seems like. I could be way wrong, but it seems like they're just like, let's get some collaborations before we say bye. Because there's no show coming to link it to. And I feel like they always had something that anchored them there where you know they're going to be there. And I even said in a video that I think we got maybe 3 more years at the most out of them.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable estimate, especially if you look at the average age of what the e-girls members were when they retired the e-girls. I think when e-girls retired, the youngest one was 22, and the oldest one was 28. So if you superimpose that on Girls 2, similar age gap. But right now, Misaki is 21, yes, and Minami is 17. So if you wait for Misaki to turn 26 5 years from now, when Minami is 22, and that'll be similar. Or
Now, my concern with that though is, are they gonna group them together since they keep calling it the GL2 or however they want to pronounce it, family? Does that mean when they get rid of one, they're gonna also try to end Lucky Lucky? Because I feel like
No, I feel like if they ever end Girls² they're gonna let. I feel like the way they manage these groups, they're gonna let Lucky Lucky have their own lifespan. Because what I see from Lucky Lucky so far is a similar sort of track as to what Girls² is following in the beginning. Like, I'm a little bit afraid that the Lucky Lucky songs will become what the Girls² songs are now, more K-pop-y. You know?
right.
It's like, because I know I've started to like the Girls² songs less because they transition more to that K-pop-ish sound. Because I feel like that's what the Japanese producers think is an adult sound, when really it's just kind of like basic in my mind. And then meanwhile they're letting Lucky Lucky do a quote-unquote younger sounding songs, which are...
I feel like the last song that they really had that didn't have that K-pop thing to them, and they were considerably better than of the recent songs, would have to be Letters, because we get to hear Toa sing in that song. They auto-tuned her, but we get to hear Toa sing in Letters. And then it was Uncool, which it was just the right amount where it wasn't straight up K-pop. They did a little bit of that switching in the middle of the song to a more kind of mature sound, I guess you could say. But Uncool was like one of them, and it was Uncool and Letters. I feel like was, if anything, go in the direction they went with Uncool. Like, what was your take on the song Uncool?
You want to know something about both of those songs? Is I've never heard either.
Oh wow! I just asked your take on Uncool.
There were both B-sides on singles that came out in the last year, and I only started paying attention to these groups again starting, like, August of this year. Like, from April 22 until August of this year, I was in complete dormancy starting this new job that I hate, which is probably the next thing I would like to talk about. If anyone's interested to hear it, it's just... Because this is the end part of my journey we started the video with. It was me saying how I found this group, how I fell in love with them, how I went fan, how I was part of the whole start of it. Well, then the truth of it is, in April of last year, I moved back to America, and I was no longer able to pay attention to basically any of it for a long time, because I was starting on this new job, which was very confusing to me, and I really don't like it very much. And, I've got more to say on it, but I'm going to save that for later. That's going to be a later announcement from Upgoon. Stay tuned for that.
If I can make one recommendation, I got a complete
black hole.
If I can make one recommendation, if you haven't heard it, I feel like if you listen to the song Uncool, I feel like that will be. I feel like you'll probably agree with me on this, that it's more like the older Girls² songs, and they didn't try to go that K-pop route. And I'm like, if they wanted a different, more mature sound, that's how they should have did it. Is how they did Uncool, as opposed to collaborations with a Pink Rabbit.
That's how they should have done it. But if I were writing songs for Girls² right now, I'd be writing feuds. I'd be writing something out of the World Temper Olivia right now. I would love to hear them do that, though. A box style vocal, like chorale and fugue, would be amazing. I'm just a music nerd. That's how I think. Any music nerds, press 1 right now if you want to hear Girls² do a box style chorale. I just lost everything.
I think they should, like. Here's the thing, what I want to see here, and I'll make a video after this. Whatever they're doing with this Activate tour, and I think Activate is going to be the name of the song, I feel like whatever they do that's not a collaboration will let me know what direction they're going in, and if I'm going to still like it. Because, again, I like Finance because it's a collaboration with one of my favorites. But I can admit it has a kind of K-pop-like sound, and I don't like K-pop.
Mm-hmm. And I like their outfits for the current tour. I like how they look. They're sort of somewhere in the middle of where their progression would have been. They're not super K-pop-y, I guess. They're cute. They're on a theme. And I think it's pretty obvious, yeah, they announced that they're releasing the new single, but they wouldn't release the title of the new single song, but the title of the single itself is out, right? Which is... something. It was there. But I feel like, well, clearly we've got some kind of hint as to what the song's going to be called, right? I'm already forgetting my info. I should know this. It came out like a...
I'm going to be mad if it's not called Activate, because the tour says Activate. It has the little stylized letters that says Activate. It just looks cool. And it kind of makes me wonder, what would that be about with a name like Activate? What could that be about? I kind of want to hear that. Unless it starts off with... My biggest fear is they're going to go off the deep end and start collaborating with K-pop groups. Because there are a few that are really famous in Japan. And I'm like, please don't do it. Please don't do it.
Well, the thing that I would have difficulty with would be not so much the girls collaborating with the K-pop stars, but like the agencies. Because I feel like if LDH were to reach out to JY Park or something right now, he would just be like, why the hell would I collaborate with you? Like, he would just be like I'm a billion, I don't need you, is what he would probably say to them. Like, what would they gain from it, is what I think.
Funny you mentioned JY Park. Because of all the collaborations I do want a collaboration with Nizu. Other than that, no. So it's funny you mentioned him.
Yeah, I think I have opinions for him that are probably not suitable for this video. I'm not sure what kind of content rating you put on your channel. But yeah, it's like I don't see why he would ever collaborate with LD. It's like they're leagues apart from each other at this point in terms of demand. You know, it's like the K-pop groups are so far ahead of where girls is right now. They're not gonna. I don't think they're. It would have to be a really small, like insignificant K-pop group that no one's really ever heard of.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks when I think about it that way, though, because I always end up being fans of these groups that are lesser known. That's why it always surprises me when I hear a group that I like on the radio, because I have quite a few apps and other ways to listen to like what's on the Japanese radio. So when I hear like a group that I recognize, I'm like, oh, they're on the radio, which probably doesn't really mean much, but I'm like, oh, they're on the radio. Like, I'm pretty sure you recall quite a few times in Discord where I was like, hey, such and such was just on the radio.
I've done that before. They were playing Rocksteady and a Donkey the other day when I was in Japan. Like, it was just there. I stopped in, like, one afternoon to get, like, a drink or something. I was like, they're playing. So they do play them on the radio occasionally, but a lot of people turn them up. The first time I ever freaked out, it was in 2018 before Girls² was ever announced. I was at a ramen, like a Chinese restaurant, like a chain place in Kagawa. There was no one there with me, and they started playing the Magical cover of the song Toy Boy, which is extremely emotional. I loved it. And they started playing it on the radio, and I was just sitting there in this Osaka Osha by myself, like, they're playing Toy Boy! And I recorded it, and I put it in the Sakura Gakuen Discord, and I'm like, they're playing my favorite group in this restaurant right now, and nobody reacted to it because nobody had heard them before. But, like, if I told anyone about that today, like, they should have been pogging. You should have been pogging. You just didn't realize. Like, I'm just sitting here, SMH my head, and there's people like...
Is there a story behind...
Just sitting...
Is there a story behind why they chose Toy Boy of all songs for them to sing?
Well, I don't think we'll ever do that one. I think the short explanation is they didn't know what the lyrics meant. Probably the simplest explanation. They didn't have any... That's probably the reality of it, is they don't have a single person on the whole production team that speaks English. And that's what sets them apart from the K-pop groups, is not a single one of them speaks English to any respectable degree.
Hey.
And so they just let that song slip through the cracks. It would never happen in Korea. It would never happen.
And I know you have not watched Reason Star, but there's like a song. There's like a song that plays for Akari's character when she transforms into her outfit. When Rion does hers, I'm like, who approved this? The whole song is just. I'm like, really? The whole song is like saying you dirty freak. I'm like, you can't say dirty freak on a kid show.
The simple answer is it was approved by someone who doesn't know. That's what it is.
It's funny because I like the music, I like the way it sounds, but every time I hear it, I'm like, I can't defend this. Why? Dirty freak? They couldn't find anything else to say.
It's funny to the people who know what's going on, but like the fact of the matter is it makes them less appealing to the international audience. It actually cuts them off from thousands, if not millions of people. Like that oversight. That it's like a fear on the part of their production agents that like they're just fearful of contacting anyone who's not Japanese to be part of the project. I don't know why they're so oddly xenophobic, but that's something they're gonna have to get over if they ever want to succeed in this industry.
There was also a really funny oversight that I noticed on Love Patrina when Sarai transforms. They just straight up say the word savage as hell in the background. I'm like, what? What? It's like the little rap part. They say, I thought you meant well, but you're savage as hell. I'm like, you can't say that. This is a kid's show.
I don't recall.
Yeah, if you watch her transformation, listen to the little rap, they say savage as hell in her song. I'm like, but Sarai, what are you doing? Like, the lyrics don't even make sense. Like, I don't know what they're rapping about in her song in the background. It's just random rap. So, and I'm like, why is that there?
I did that one time to I had a student. I'll just call her, I don't know what to call her. She had a name, well, she wasn't an idol. She was just a normal girl, but she was one of my students. But she was a little, like, she used to freak out about me. Like, I was her Oshi. She would fawn over me like I was like a guy in Johnny's or something. And she would always come up to me in the hallway and try and like grab onto me, and I would have to push her away like, nope. And she would always just be like trying to like grab my arm and like hold my hand and stuff, and I would just be like, no, just stop. But the one time she showed me like this picture that I don't think she drew it. One of her friends had drawn it, but it was of some anime character. I was like, wait, I know who this is. Because I did this whole thing at school where I pretended I didn't speak Japanese. So I would always be speaking to her in English, even though her English wasn't very good. And I was just like, I know who this is. So I was just sitting there scratching my chin to myself and was like, ah. And she was just like, instantly to her friend, oh, you said fuck. Like, in Japanese. Wait, of all the words that you know that one? You know that word? And I was like, you never even pretend to understand me when I speak English. Otherwise, I say fuck one time and you.
Why?
And so she just and she was speaking out to her friend, and her friend actually speaks English. She grew up in the Philippines. She was one of her favorites. And I was just trying to tell her, there's no such thing as a curse word. It's a capital Smith. I went on my whole diatribe. But yeah, that was funny.
Funny that you mentioned that because it's like they begin edgier and edgier with the lyrics in the Girls songs. Like 80s Lover that has a part where they say, which I don't get it. It should have been Don't Give a Damn, but it was Don't Wanna Give a Damn. It doesn't make sense. Finest, they literally all say hell yeah. I'm like, do you think they're gonna get to the point where they just go?
What?
Yes, they all say hell yeah in the middle of Finest. It just said, show the world we
Yeah,
girls
that,
taking
that at
over, and
least
then they
makes
say,
sense.
hell yeah, and then they keep going. And it's just funny because I can clearly hear Masaki's voice. I'm like, I heard Misaki say, hell yeah.
Take it. You know what I've been looking for years is the shirt Suzu wore in Miracle² says, "Are you going where?" I just want to find.
One of my favorite things about the outfits they wear in Miracle² is that Fuka wears a lot of Indiana outfits. It's just Indiana. It has Indiana College. Like I'm in Indiana. I went past the college and I've seen it. I'm like, she's wearing this. It's the same color still. And it's still the same logo. And she wore it quite a bit. And I'm like, how did she end up getting an Indiana State shirt in the middle of Japan? How did that happen?
They have no idea what any of that says. They just buy like surplus, like shirts and stuff from all the big football schools and sell it in Japan. There's people. I always see people walking around with LSU stuff, and like I went to LSU, and like there's a diary Youka did in like 2020, I think, where Youka was wearing an actual LSU jacket. Like it wasn't just the same colors, it was the actual LSU logo. It said LSU. It had the old Mike the Tiger emblem from prior to like 1994, whenever they updated it, and I brought like an LSU pennant that I had to my next Checky shoot with her, and I was like, "You wore our jacket from the school that I went to," and she was like, "Oh, it's the same colors or something." And I was like, "No, it was my actual. You were wearing a jacket from the actual school I went to." I'm not sure she fully understood the explanation I gave her because you only have a few seconds to talk to them before they take Checky. But I did take a Checky with Youka in her purple outfit, holding my purple and gold LSU flag.
I love the random English though, because one of my favorite outfits that Toa ever had will be, it was like the green khakis and she had a pink shirt that just had a cursive writing that said melted butter. I'm like, why?
Good one.
Why is there a pink shirt that says melted butter? Like, I'm like, I want that shirt now because it makes no sense.
Classic Japan English. It doesn't have to make sense. They don't know.
Like, I want to know where they find these. I have actively been going on Amazon looking for shirts that have English that don't make sense, and I can't find it. Like, I want to just make that a thing, make that a trend in America, wearing random words, like have a shirt that says hot dog that has a muffin on it.
Walk into any store that sells clothing in Japan, it's going to be on wax. It's like, it's there in every store.
That's what I'm about to do. I'm going to just buy a bunch of random shirts in bulk when I go. But yeah, any closing remarks before we? I was gonna play the Africa song at the end, but everything I have that I can play it on has died, so I'll just put that in post production.
You'll get,
huh?
YouTube will strike your video if you play that. That's the one part of my stream. If I play music on my stream, that's the one like 4-minute section of it that always gets muted by Twitch is when I play Africa. So I wouldn't recommend putting it on the video unless you want to get the whole thing struck.
Oh yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, I can do it myself. I have a video of me doing karaoke on my last trip.
I mean,
so I could do it a cappella right now.
As long as they don't take the whole thing down.
It's pretty high up there. That's a hard song.
How would you react though? This is my final question. We got to close on this one. How would you react if they got the? First of all, who do you think are the 3 best singers from Girls²? I know Momo is one.
From all groups, or
just Girls². The 3 best singers from Girls².
Okay, Momo, and then Youka, then Momo, Youka. Third one's a hard one.
Minami, maybe?
I thought about it. Misaki. I'm sick.
Okay. So if they got those
Momo
3...
and Youka, I'm sure about.
So if they got Momo, Youka, and Misaki to sing Africa, what would your reaction be?
I would just be like, well, I'm done. Be like, that's enough. We can put this on my headstone and go ahead and start digging the hole right now. And
just have your name in the quotes, and that's enough.
We're done. Basically, is what I'd say. I'd say that's all I was looking for. I'm done. I'm good.
Oh man, I can hear it though. I can hear it in my head. I can hear like just Momo's voice singing in Africa. I need to get one of those AI bots that everybody is using, and I want to like get their voices and make them sing Africa.
I'm sure you can do it.
Like I don't know how those things work.
Would the AI bot make them sing it, and would it make them sing it katakana or? Because Youka and Misaki both are pretty decent at English pronunciation.
It would excuse me, I ain't trying to cough with that. It would it mimics their voice, and it would probably make them sound English, because I've seen outrageous things. I've seen people use Michael Jackson's voice to sing "City Escape" from Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm like, hey, I like it. Yes, and it sounds good. It's kind of how it sounds, and it worked. I'm like, oh my God, City Escape, Michael Jackson. I need this. It's on YouTube. Oh man.
Well, I'm gonna look about her.
Oh, this has been a.
I want to add one more thing.
Okay.
I want to add one more thing, and if you're a Goonionaire, and you're listening to this video right now, I want to offer you three free Goon points to anyone who DMs me on Discord the secret word, and the secret word is parsnip. Parsnip. DM me the word parsnip on Discord with no context. You get 3 Goon points. If you're someone who knows how to get Goon points, you know what that.
I guess I'm not qualified, because that'd be unfair, because I'd be the first one to do it.
Well, I'm going to give you 5 for hosting.
Fair.
So you don't have to whisper me parsnip, but I'm just going to give you.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I did not expect as much. As I lost track of how much we both could rant about.
You're gonna have to cut this.
Huh?
Yeah, we've never actually spoken. Like, I've heard you speak because I've heard your YouTube videos, and you've been to my streams, so you've heard me speak. But we've never actually spoken to one another voice to.
I do know I definitely will probably want to come back to this again, because I feel like at some point there's going to be another group, another something with former members, or something girls related, or something that we both have topics about, being Sakura Gaku and things, or something. I feel like another one of these type of videos will definitely have to be made again at some point.
Yeah. Hit me up, and wait until you hear the news I have coming. And again, I'm not quite ready for it, but it's definitely going to be relevant to the girls, lucky enjoyers. It's going to be relevant, and that's fourth.
But yeah, this has been our final episode of season 2 of Water Wednesday. Season 3 starts up next year in January, but there will still be more girls and lucky content. It's just, like I said, season 3 will not focus on them as much, and it'll be more kind of back to like it was with season 1, news and updates on all idols in general. So until next time, this has been
season 2 finale.
Huh? Oh, you weren't aware that you were part of the finale? That's why we did it. We had to go out with a bang.
Excellent. Okay, well, finish the outro. I interrupted you.
Oh, yeah. So until next time, this has been Kuroneko Near for the Kuroneko Network saying, be you, be true, be human. Bibito Kata!